Born Primitive Outdoor is proud to partner with Montana Knife Company, Marsupial Gear, Evolution Outdoors, Sheep Feet, and Capture Gear. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to our sponsors. Welcome back to the Born Primitive Outdoor podcast. My dogs are barking outside, so I apologize about that. I've got my partner in crime, Kurt Gamache, on the podcast. Had a little technical difficulties. Hopefully this works.
Yeah, I'm having a little video issue. I think Aaron can see everything, so hopefully when it records, it pops up fine.
Yeah, if not, you'll hear it's just fine. So what I really wanted to cover, there's a lot going on at Born Primitive. We've been coming out with new stuff. We've run out of the stuff we've come out with pretty quickly.
Yep.
We've got a lot of products coming up, and Kurt's a huge part of that. So I wanted to just bullshit with Kurt about what's been going on, some of the difference when like the, Bushcraft hoodie, for example, of what's on the market, talk about what's coming up, and then we'll probably just shoot the shit about survival and not dying when you're out in the woods. So, Kurt, welcome aboard. So the first question, and I get this a lot.
Yeah.
What sets our hoodie apart from everyone else? Cause the Duckworth hoodie gets brought up. Kurt and I love the Duckworth hoodie, but it wasn't quite what we wanted. So what did we do, Kurt? Like, how'd we change that? Or you changed it. You did most of the work. I just tried to fuck her on every now and then, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of gear, among the outdoor community that people use pretty regularly. It kind of floats around. Word gets around about that stuff that performs really well. Of course, the Duckworth, powder hoodie is an amazing hoodie. It's been out for a while. We just identified a few key things about it that were lacking in some of the applications that we tried to take it on, and we wanted to fix that. So the biggest one, and probably the most glaring one, is how thin it is. Felt like wind cut through it pretty substantially. The GSM was not very high, so we increased the GSM of the wool that we ended up down selecting to, and we also increased the wool composition of that wool, something with a little bit tighter weave so that wind had a more difficult time passing through. And that higher wool composition is really like the two key features that we wanted to adjust from the Duckworth powder hoodie. In addition, I think Aaron, you and I both like anorak style outerwear. So we tried to mimic that a little bit with this. We didn't want to go overboard and put, slits up the side. We didn't want to make it too long, but we did elongate the body of this hoodie and make it a little bit looser feel. So that's been some of the feedback that we've gotten initially is people reaching out and saying, hey, how does this fit? Or I had to downsize. So yes, this does fit a little bit bigger. That was intentional. It's meant to fit like a heavier anorak pullover. So if you are on the fence on sizes, definitely recommend downsizing. You'll be perfectly fine. The only thing is, because this thing is 90% wool composition, really 89%, but that high wool composition, like, you have to take care of it in the wash cycle properly. We recommend just dry cleaning it. Now, the amount of times that you would have to do that is pretty low.
That's what the company recommends.
The company recommends
dry clean it. I've washed mine, and I'm not saying if you get on and said Aron Snyder said on the podcast we're going to say you're still in the wrong.
Yeah.
I have washed mine a lot, but you have to hang dry it, and you have to wash it on a very gentle, short cycle, and you have to hang dry it. But if you say Aron said he washes his and I did and it ruined it, you still have to buy a new one. We're not going to warranty that. But
you should dry clean it. And I agree. Some washers have a wool setting on their wash cycle. Yeah. So if you hit that with this thing in it, absolutely do not dry it, or you'll be giving it to your kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say, Mike, because of my ex-wife, my washer and dryer cost, I don't even want to know what they cost, to be honest with you. I think that the washer can see the future. So it does have a wool, cycle, but what I have recommended to guys, if they're worried about it. So like I was fly fishing the other day, and my hands, I get, fish scum, and I just hand wash it and dry it. It's not a big deal. When I say hand wash, it just it's wool. It's not going to, it's the beauty of it, right? And so I wouldn't stress over it, but if you're that worried about it, you can kind of hand wash it and clean it and just hang it up, don't dry it, and that'll be that, no drama.
Yeah, definitely. Or if you're like me and you bought a washer dryer combo off Facebook Marketplace and they're like laundromat style washers and dryers, it still has a gentle cycle. You're going to be fine. Put it on cold, hit that gentle cycle, and then just hang dry. You'll be fine.
Yeah. And then the upsizing of this, just so there's the context to this. I'm right. Well, Kurt and I about identical. I'm just under 6'1" and 215. I think you're about the same.
About 215. My penis is a little larger though.
That is not true. I don't know. I can't say that for sure. And I'm more of a shower than a grower. Yeah. If it's cold out, it could be. But I could wear a large or an extra large. And I would say in the late season, I'm an extra large because I'm going to have probably a ridgeline base layer, a quiver over that, and then the Bushcraft. So I like, if I had to buy one, it'd be an XL. But if I'm wearing it to the gym, it'd be a large. So something to think about.
Completely agree. Same.
So yeah, after that, Kurt and I are saying nothing negative about the, good Lord, not the cloud. What's it called? The Duckworth.
The powder hoodie. Yeah.
The powder hoodie. Good Lord. It's a great hoodie. It's just different. It's a little bit thinner. It's a little bit more synthetic, a little bit less wool. But Kurt is a huge fan, far more than me, of organic, meaning wool. And I did a lot of stuff this year where I was like, man, I would really like a wool hoodie that Kurt had talked about. And or I guess that was 2 years ago. And then that's when we kind of, went to town, and Kurt headed up, this for the most part. Occasionally I'd get a purple hoodie in and try it out. I think our biggest concern was the dry clean.
Explain what you mean by purple hoodie.
When you do prototypes, so like right now we're coming out with backpacks, and every prototype we have is black, right? It's just that way, it's a prototype. So we would get, I don't know if it was purple, magenta.
Yeah, it was like a maroon, purple color. Maroon. Yeah. It's whatever fabric they have available.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Colton Gilman, trad guy, he's got one of the magenta. What did you say it is? What was the color?
Maroon. Wait, was it
maroon-ish?
Yeah.
Hoodies, and so we tried those out a lot, and we changed the sizing up a little bit. The micron count is pretty low, so that was the other question I guess I should get to is the micron count is 20.5, which is not extreme but low. That's a fine material, but not super fine.
It's so comparable to a soft, like hand feel merino wool base layer.
Yep. And you can wear that next to skin. I have zero issue wearing mine next to skin. So that was a question I got quite a bit, is how itchy is it? It's not itchy. I wear it next to skin all the time. And then, for me, when I backpack in weather where it's like that happy, crappy medium where you're a little bit cold, you're a little bit hot. When I get there, I put whatever I have on and I put that hoodie on against the skin. Cause the beauty of it obviously is when my sweat's hitting it, that's what wool's made for. It's regulating my temperature better than synthetic, because if I put synthetic on, the sweat goes to synthetic and it immediately gets cold, where merino or wool in general does not do that. So.
Correct. Yeah. Good gouge.
Okay. So next up, and I got to let my little midget in, is going to be the zero drop shoes. Which is my fault. I posted a photo and I think people thought that's what we were coming out with. That was version 1 of the zero drop. And there's going to be a lot of changes to that. So Kurt, do you want to dive into some of the changes we are already making?
Yeah. You can go get Havoc and I'll kind of take the reins for a little bit.
My little demon.
So, yeah. Fitting name. So these are a zero drop barefoot style mountain hunting boot, and the whole intent, and some of you might have seen that initial proto, that first round proto that we posted. We're asking people to help us come up with a name for it. Had a lot of interaction on that post, so thank you for that. We're still deciding on the name, so if you haven't, check it out, comment. But yeah, like Aron said, that's a very rough sketch, if you will. If you do anything with art, like your first round sketch, like it's not going to look really much like that initial proto sample. There's a lot of features. There's a lot of design elements that are missing. The materials are not correct. It's really to just give us a 3-dimensional representation of what this boot could look like. We just had another meeting about it today, about the lasts, which is basically the sole of the shoe, opening up molds and everything like that. So we're kind of trying to slap the table on how we want this profile to fit. And while we did draw significant inspiration from the popular Vivo barefoot style boots, we're trying to take that a step further and incorporate this barefoot style boot with somewhat of a mountain hunting boot as well that nobody in the industry has done yet. And we're finding out why. There's some significant challenges in it, but I think we're on a pretty good track with being able to overcome some of those hurdles that might have stopped some other companies from diving down this realm. Now, we're taking a significant risk because we're not sure 100% how this is going to be received within the community. But I think because of the feedback, well, really the tacit knowledge that Aron and I bring to the table and the feedback from some very close, reputable people in the industry, we think that we kind of came up with a solution for this, and we're going to keep hammering home with it. So we're going to open up some molds, get some test samples, and get those on the feet of a bunch of different people and just start rocking them and keep adjusting them until we can get a version of that we like. So I think just stay dialed in to the Instagram, and Aron and I will probably be posting something in the future with these T&E samples with how it's going. We'll probably end up letting you guys know what we decided on with a name for these, but yeah, we're really excited. This is really a new endeavor for us, which is pretty significant considering we started out with apparel. Now we're moving to footwear. We're also moving to backpacks, which we'll cover again here. So Aron, yeah.
And then adding to, so when people this is not a sheep hunting, mountain goat hunting boot, even though some of my crazy friends would use it for that. What happened with me, or how this transpired on my journey with zero drop footwear, is I wore mountaineering boots my whole life. I wore them to the gym. I wore them all the time, and my foot got really weak. And during that time, I had 2 stress fractures carrying heavy weight in my right foot because I had no muscle development in that foot to help the load, because I'd worn fucking ski boots basically. So my buddy Matt, Matt's an amazing human. It's called the Muscle Project. Matt is kind of a bone density, muscular doctor guy. And he kept saying, you got to wear these, you got to wear these. And I'm like, no. And I went straight cold turkey to try to wear zero drops. Didn't go well because I wasn't used to it. And all of the things that you think would happen is my feet hurt. And, I got hot spots because my feet, inside of a mountaineering boot, there's not a lot of, like sliding, because they're tighter than they're tight inside that boot. So I tried them again because I was just, receiving like rippling effect issues up my body, right? So like knees, hips. So I went and said, I'm just going to do it. And I talked to some very high level mountaineering buddies of mine. They're like, look, bro, when you got to get to it, put on a mountaineering boot. Other than that, zero drops other than flip flops. So flip flops, zero drops, mountaineering accordingly. And that made sense to me. So they're like, that'll strengthen your foot wearing flip flops, or in their case, some of them go just barefoot. But anytime I'm doing any kind of a moderate to mid-level, lower, hunt, backpack trip, going to the archery range, walk my dogs, zero drop or flip flops. So once I went through that, I quickly learned, like, holy cow, like I have no muscle density or structure in my foot. My toes are cramped together. There's a lot of benefits to the zero drop. So then I started hunting in them. And when I say that Vivos, I lost my toes a lot with heavy weight going downhill, my toenails, because they're made to be really wide and to have a giant toe box. But I wanted the ability to have my toe slide forward when I had 100 pounds on my back, or 80 or whatever. And so, you couldn't put gaiters on, some of the options, Zero or Vivo. And the other thing is, and I'm not speaking for Born Primitive, I'm speaking for me personally. Vivo does not really like guns nor hunters. And so that was another benefit of us coming out with it, is you would have a gun loving patriotic company making a zero drop shoe with the added benefit of more durable, able to put, have a spot for, the strap, for wearing gaiters. And then also more of a lace to toe system. So you can tighten that up so your toes don't slide forward. So that first one, we had some negative comments about just call it a Vivo. And it does kind of look like a Vivo. The lacing's a little bit lower, but where I screwed up, that was version 1. We're dropping the lacing system down even farther, more like an approach shoe. So you can have it splayed out. You have room, but when the rubber meets the road, you've got heavy weight in your pack. You can tighten that up. And then we added a rubber rand, which goes a little bit against the whole, barefoot world, but durability wise, we wanted to add some durability to that. And Kurt had touched on this. That has become a little bit of a problem because we got to get the sizing right, because you don't have that freewheeling, forgiving all leather, because you've got, a dam or whatever, like a little bit of rigidity. So we had to get that sizing right. So it is a risk what we're doing, but nobody has it. We want it. We know a lot of guys that kick down doors that kind of like that kind of profile as well. So what would I use it for, is easy. South Dakota, Arizona, Eastern Colorado, moderate mountain hunts, any kind of Arizona, hunt, anything. And then obviously every day, type of shit. So would I use it on an elk hunt? Yeah. I mean, moderate type hunts, 100%. Would I use it on a goat and a sheep hunt? No, I personally wouldn't. Now I do know some crazy ass dudes that would. My buddy Matt being one, would use it, anywhere. The problem that I have is I have 48 years of mountaineering boots. My foot is not ready for the total plunge of let's go on a sheep hunt with a zero drop. I can't do it, but I have to use those to keep the strength of my foot up, and they're very comfortable and they're very quiet. So stalking, and when you don't want to take your shoes off, they are, I guess you would say, connected to the ground more. Kurt, you're smiling. What are you thinking?
No, that was going to be one of the points that I wanted to make sure that we brought up was, some of the challenges that we're trying to overcome are making sure that the sole composition is hard enough so that the lugs don't just start peeling off as you're going through rocky terrain, something out in, New Mexico, West Texas, but also soft enough so that you can still have that underfoot feel as you're doing a final stalk. So the other aspect is these are coming out in a Gore-Tex version. So there will be a waterproof membrane. And we understand that there's some challenges with that. Now, the idea behind that is they're a little bit more versatile across a broad spectrum of environments. But at the same time, if your feet are going to sweat in them, they're going to get wet inside, water's going to come over to the top, they're going to be a little bit more difficult to dry out. So naturally, as you're in the backcountry or just spending a long time in the field, on a long hike or PCT or something like that, you're going to want to dry these things out most likely over a fire. So the other aspect that we're trying to overcome is finding a glue or an adhesive composition that can withstand some of those extreme spreads, an extreme cold environment. Like if you're setting them outside of your tent in the middle of the night and, temperatures get down to 30, 20, 10 degrees, or if you're drying them out over a fire, it's not going to melt that glue and cause the sole or even the rand, that rubber rand, that reinforcement that we talked about, to peel away from the boot. So we're keeping all of this in mind as we're developing, and these are key factors that we want to make sure that we overcome prior to even getting to the final version.
Yeah, and we have had a lot of feedback with this, and with a rubber rand, and I'm not saying that we're settling for the rubber rand failing, but what I had tried to convey to some people is if you have a rubber rand and after 8 months it cracks and there's a little bit of a gap, it's still better than starting with a boot that had never had one to begin with. So if we can get a rubber rand, in my opinion, and it's not just my vote, if that fucker will last 8 months to a year and then you get a crack in it or some separation, I personally don't care, because I would prefer that, because the rand is still on there. Yep, there's a little separation, but you still have total coverage and protection. So if you're running it through the stuff that I do, where everything Kurt's talking about, freezing cold, drying it off on the fire, drying it off in the sun, and that lasts for quite some time before you get a little separation, to me, that's a victory. And I know some people, out there want things to last forever because things are expensive, and I totally understand that. But there also is a realm of reality that Gore-Tex is going to leak after a year or two. There's no way around it. Glue will eventually fail. But if it's not a catastrophic failure and there's a little bit of peeling after 8 to 12 to 14 months, I don't worry about that as much, because the crap I put these boots through, that if I'm drying it off on a fire, then it's -30 and I throw them outside, and then I've got to break them up in the morning to soften them up.
Yeah.
If we can get it to where it's pretty durable and it is handling some extreme torture, that is a victory, because the options on the market now don't offer any of that.
Yeah. And the adage comes to play here: take care of your gear will take care of you. So it's not like you can just neglect these things. You will have to take care of them. They will have a leather outsole, so you'll need to make sure that as you wear these over a season or two, buff them up, throw some neat's foot oil or some other sort of compound on top to rehydrate that leather. Just, like anything else that you spend money on, you want to take care of it, and it'll last you a lot longer than if you just neglect it and expect that you dunk this thing in salt water, that it should just perform. Like, that's not the case.
Yeah, and I will say I've had a couple drinks in me, so I'm going to be a little bit more harsh than normal. If you buy a car and you don't change the oil, you're going to have problems, and that is the user's fault. If you buy boots and don't take bear grease, nick wax, whatever Kurt had just mentioned, some kind of boot care and treatment, or clean it. What did you say?
Neat's foot oil, which is like, but any sort of oil or leather compound.
You have to do that to footwear. You can only expect your gear to go so long mistreating it than compared to cleaning the boot. And again, I use bear grease, whatever. And that will help, one, waterproof it, but two, I make the leather last longer. So the next thing is, are we going to do a non-Gore-Tex version? Probably. I would say. And are we going to do an insulated version? Probably, right? If the sales go well, that's something we have on the books. Are we going to do a low top version? Probably, right? Like, if these sell as well as we're hoping, I would say all of those will come out, but not all at one time, right? Give us a little time, but those will be coming depending upon how well this one does. Yeah.
This is our entry into the hunting footwear market, or really just the outdoorsman footwear market. Like, we have obviously some training shoes on the athletic wear side. We just came out with the Patriot one, which is a more of a tactical urban assault boot. We're slowly getting there. We have the expertise in house to know what is going to work. We just don't have the background and the history of creating performance footwear. So we want to start off small. We don't want to jump too far into the pool, and just not know how to swim or even tread water. So we're going to start off slow and eventually build up. And we're going to obviously identify complications, issues, shit we just totally missed the mark on this boot. And we're going to want to apply that to the next iteration down the road. So just bear with us. We're going to get there. We just want to be deliberate with it.
Well, and I think the same thing with footwear and packs, that we are doing things that are not offered. I mean, a lot of, there was shit talkers on there about, well, I don't want to get into it, but basically, because of the photo of the zero drop that I posted, people immediately, that's it. Where that's version 1, we'll probably have, I think, how many of the Patriot one, we had 9 versions or some shit.
Absolutely. And it's totally expected. Like, you can't expect everybody to just understand that whole product development process. Like, some guy, like, before I was into this, I didn't fucking know that, like, you're going to post something that must be what you're coming out with. It's like, no.
And that's why we're doing this podcast is like, we are trying to enter the market in the lead of what's offered by what experience we have, what's missing. But it's not like, again, Kurt said it, we may not knock it out of the park completely. Maybe we will, right? Maybe it'll be a home run. We're certainly going to test it, but like, we're going to go more of a approach shoe style lace system. Yeah. And we're also going to take the hooks out of it. So hopefully the speed laces work as well as we hope. But we're not wanting to enter the market to do the same shit everybody else is doing. We're entering the market doing something new and different.
And you're not going to find Sitka or Crispy or some of these other companies making a post over a year before the boot even releases saying, hey guys, here's our Gen 1 proto, check it out. Because one, you're kind of opening yourself up to attack from other companies or competitors who are going to be like very interested in what you're doing and going to try and come out with something similar. But at the same time, we're being open and transparent and saying, hey, like, we want this to fit the community, as broad of a spectrum of community as possible, like provide input. And we're at the stage and we have the agility with where we're at as a company to be able to flex with what the customer wants. Because at the end of the day, we're not building this in a silo. It's not like, hey, what does Kurt and Aron like the best? Let's just do that. It's like, no, like, this needs to, a lot of what people bring up that say they like may not be something that I like, but at the same time, I have to be humble enough to say, okay, Kurt, you have a different viewpoint. The majority of the customer wants something else. Let's go ahead and lean into that. Like,
we're going to see how that goes.
Mossy Oak. I think Mossy Oak is fucking ugly, but the customer likes it. So we're going to do Mossy Oak bottom line.
We're going to see how that goes with the naming of the zero drop shoe. If we go with what the customer says or what Bear says. I'd be curious feedback. Bear, who the co-founder, he has a massive hard on to call this the Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. Yep.
He's losing right now. So anybody listening to this, make sure and send in, we have some other options. The Long Hunter is one. The Stalker. There were some other options.
Was the other one.
The Reaper. Yeah.
Bigfoot is not terrible. There were a lot of submissions for Bigfoot. I think it's fitting. But Reaper was also pretty common as far as a submission. I initially wasn't sure, but then Aron was like, hey, that was a handle that I had back in the day. And I was like, okay, now that makes sense of why it was so prominent showing up in the comments.
I have a backpack that we're going to come out with later on that I want to call the Reaper. So we can't use the Reaper. But having said that, like what Kurt just said, we had a guy come to the booth, James Fleming. I wasn't in the booth, bullshitted with Kurt. I talked to him on the phone the other day, and he is an Arizona boy. They kill giant elk. But we talked on the phone for a while, like with what he does down there is rugged in a different way than what I do in like BC or Wyoming or whatever. Right. And so, when I was talking with him, and he's a stud and kills giant elk. He's done ultra marathons and a bunch of other shit. Look at me. I'm not running 100 miles. Right. As I was like, look, man, I need to get your feedback, or me and Kurt do. What's that?
Yeah, I was 100 miles. Yeah, fuck that. Chronic cardio.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'll drive it. Right. And so like he's down in the thick of things where he's not staying 10 nights in the field, but he's hitting totally different terrain. He's hitting barrel cactus, cat's claw, or cat's paw or whatever. And so we want to get feedback from dudes like that are heavy hitters in that world. Yeah. And then also what Kurt does and what I do, and come up with the best all around to check as many boxes for each area that we're going after. Because what he's going through, I still go down to Texas and New Mexico, but he's there every day. And so we want to get his feedback of like, okay, dude, did it make it 8 months? Did it make it a year? And a little Ow Daddy, Johnny, he's Yeah, he's a stud. He guides for Capo, Texas for Scott. He's like my brother. And he's doing shit to boots that nobody does. Same with that Fleming guy, right? And
Johnny wears Vivos all the time, and he's constantly giving us feedback. Hey, this is what's fucked up about him. Here's what I would like to improve. So that he's been kind of paramount in some of the feedback for the initial sample. So, Aaron, I kind of want to, for sake of asking you to talk more, kind of give your thoughts on that whole process where well, fuck me. Hang on. I need a second. I got some TBI issues, so sometimes these thoughts just depart my brain as I'm trying to speak. So I'll come back to it.
I pulled up a photo of me in the morning with my underwear on, with a pee heart on, that I was going to post in a second here. Of like, hey, that's all I got, like right there. I actually, so.
Oh, here's what I got. I remembered. I'm ready.
Oh,
before it escapes me again. I don't touch on what your mentality was with getting brought up by Patrick and trying to do too much with one thing. Like there's a point where you want to have versatility, but you don't want to try and cover every base with this one product. And the mentality that kind of he brought to it, and how that allowed you to shift and adjust with what you're coming out with, or what we come out with.
Yeah. So the easiest way to explain this is there's going to be things, if you get into, whether it be logging, race car driving, or backpack manufacturing and designing, or clothing, that are going to stick with you, that you're going to follow the rest of your life. There's other things that you may learn along the way that you think may be a negative. One of those things is trying to make one product do 5 different things. And Patrick would do that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm more of the concept or mindset to, you make one product do one thing really well, or 2 or 3 things really well, but not everything. You just design another product like non-insulated or non-Gore-Tex, zero drop. And Patrick definitely would get to a point on designs that he would want to make one thing do a lot of different things, one product do a lot of different things. And I did not, the man was a legend, and I learned so much from him. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's just something I don't like to do. So when I come out with a product now, I really want that product to do 1, 2, or 3 things extremely well, not 10 things really well. And I'll bring up, like, when you go to like the zero drop, do I want that to be insulated, Gore-Tex, not Gore-Tex? I mean, whatever, low, top, high. Like, you gotta pick your battles. There's a lot of zero drop footwear on the market right now, but there's not one that has a lace to toe system with heavyweight going downhill, right? There's not one. There's not one that I know of that you can put a gator on. So rather than trying to do all of the different things, we're going to make something that doesn't do anything that's on the market and does it extremely well. And the backpack is the same. We'll get into that in a minute. Same kind of methodology.
I think we have a pretty good team here, Aaron. You and I, like, I have more of the mentality of Patrick, where like I want my kit to do as many things as possible, because then that's less shit that I have to carry on the back end. So, and an example would be, I would prefer to carry a poncho over rain gear, and because then my poncho can serve as my rain gear, it can serve as my pack cover, it can serve as my rain fly over top of my sleeping system. So it's like, I would prefer to do that rather than carry a separate rain fly and separate rain gear and rain pants, or a liner that pops out and goes over my pack. So I'm in line with that, but Aaron does a really good job, and I think we do a good job together of like doing checks and balance
between the mayo and the mustard.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and because it's not, there's a time that in my optic, I'm going to have to step back and say, you know what? I say wrong. None of us are wrong, but I'm wrong in the sense of like, I don't need to stand, and hold my ground on this Kurt's methodology or thought process it makes more sense, right? Like, let's do that. I will say, like, poncho wise, Kurt, you're a tough individual. That is a very, like, if we came out with a poncho to do what Kurt wants to do. I am going to fight Kurt tooth and nail the whole way.
Yeah, it's not
because
going to
I
make
can't
sense.
sell that. I can't sell that to, nobody's going to be like, yeah, I want to wear a poncho instead of rain. I mean, but other things make total sense, right? I mean, other things that does fit. The problem that you run into is if you make it confusing is the problem. And so if you design something with 14 different compression straps that you can attach, and it gets so confusing to the end user that they don't know. It's not an easy purchase environment because they're like, holy shit, I don't even know how to use this thing. And so everything that we're doing, we're looking at every angle we can basically on making it, the best product we possibly, can. And I mean, the footwear is easier than the packs. I mean, I would say, I don't know what your thought is on that, but the packs have definitely been a bit more of a hurdle than the footwear.
Yeah. There's a lot of components to the pack that you kind of overlook and you think about on the back end. Something as simple as extra compression straps or replacement buckles that initially you didn't think of and wasn't even factored in. You're like, yeah, we should probably be able to offer this.
Well, luckily, I'm not patting myself on the back too much. I did because I learned a lot in the last, and I'm not saying you didn't either, but there are certain things that I have more memory background experience in. And so when we came out, when I say came out, when we started on the design table for the backpacks, this wasn't something we initially planned on doing, right? We didn't really, in the first few months, we talked about it a little or whatever, but Kurt and I were able to go to the table with our very good friend Andrew, and the one thing I didn't want to do, nor did Kurt, was enter the market for the sake of entering a backpack. We wanted to enter the market for the sake of voids that were missing in the backpack world. Comfort, right? Durability's, there's durable packs on the market. I don't know that we're going to be more durable than in some other options. There's durable packs on the market, but comfort, functionality, adjustability, I can't go into great depth with that just because we haven't come out with it yet, but we were able to take the belt system, and I feel that we have come out with the most comfortable, load-bearing belt on the market today.
Absolutely.
And then, when it comes to the lumbar, suspension system, I say on this one was I, but Kurt was a huge part of this. But I had a concept and a theory of the way load and weight distribution worked on current packs and how to potentially change that to distribute the weight throughout the lumbar pad differently. And we did that, right? It's been interesting because Kurt, your brain is 20 years of tactical world and bushcraft. And and probably half of that's bushcraft. I'm sure, heavily into
fieldcraft, bushcraft, heavily tactical special operations focused. So it's interesting to be able to come together and blend those two worlds, the outdoor hunting community with some of the lessons learned and efficiencies that we do in the tactical realm that very, very directly blend and make something as simple as, I'm not even going to go into it because what we did with the frame was pretty sick. And I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but if we talk about it right now, maybe it's going to be before
next week. It'll be out next week.
Yeah. So it'll be before we have any patents going on. So I don't want to get too heavy into it, but definitely some innovative shit coming out. And when Aron Snyder is getting giddy like a schoolgirl who just, I won't go there, like a schoolgirl about backpacks and backpack design, it's some new innovative shit, stuff that nobody else is doing on the market, something that's going to be, we're trying to future-proof the system so that anything that we think about and could come up with in the next 10 years is going to be applicable to the system that we're developing now. Yeah. There's a lot of modularity and functionality. Like you were talking about the lumbar pack really that's an old school military butt pack, integrated into a frame system. It's pretty next level. So really excited to get this out to you guys.
Even so, like the load shelf, and I'm going to tell this story while we're on here, because it doesn't, and people can chime in off their memory, but like when you go way back and, keep in mind, I'm friends with Stone Glacier and Initial Ascent. I'm kind of friends with EXO, Mystery Ranch. Yeah. I got no issues. Even if we're coming into the market, I still like all those packs and guys or whatever. But the reality is most companies, when they're coming out now, have copied something from, more or less Patrick and Dana, and then some me and some Kurt Roscoe, from Stone Glacier or whatever. But when you look at way back in the day, and I'm going to give my version of this story of my memory of backpacks, it was pretty much, on the higher end, it was Mystery Ranch and Kafaru. And, Mark Seacat, had a photo at one point in time. I think it was a Mystery Ranch longbow, and he put a quarter between the frame and the bag. And I from what I understand, Kurt Roscoe was going to work with Mystery Ranch, or tried, and Mystery Ranch didn't want to work with Kurt and on that load shelf type of system. So Kurt started, and I may be misspeaking, but Kurt started Stone Glacier, and he made the load shelf. I don't want to say he pioneered it, but he definitely made it cool, right? Where you could not have a pack without a load shelf. And so they've got their frame with kind of a diaper sewn into it, and then you take the bag off, and then you put a quarter between the frame and the bag. And I've never been a big fan of that with bigger bags, but definitely smaller bags. But, you couldn't come to market with I don't give a shit if that pack was 7,400 cubic inches. It had to have a shelf. And so, and that was Stone Glacier, right? That was Kurt. And Kurt, really pushed that, and I would say kind of pioneered the load shelf system. Dealing with Kurt coming out with that, and then me having to kind of, or we at the time have a version of that. Over time, there was better ways to do it, I thought, and Kurt and I were able to come up, which we can't talk about, a better system, I feel, or we feel, that's more adjustable, that's more user friendly, and costs you less money in the long run. And we're going to come out with that. Now, obviously, you'll have to wait and see what the fuck we're even talking about by the time we come out with it. But I promise you it will be easier to use, without a doubt. I promise you it'll be more adjustable, without a doubt. And I promise you the packs that you use with the system that we built will be much more functional for multi-day packs as well as day packs compared to what's on the market, without a doubt. And I would be able to prove that very quickly. And when I say that, fuck, I've had to deal with it for 15 years, right? When Kurt came out with this load shelf, I'm like, you would have a 7,800 cubic inch bag, and people are like, does it have a shelf? I'm like, are you a world strongman? What are you going to do with that thing? So we were able to, Kurt and I and Andrew, come up with a more adjustable, user-friendly system that's less weight and more affordable than anything on the market. And you will see that soon. And I'm talking too much right now, but I'm very excited about this.
Yeah. Well done. A lot of props to Andrew, phenomenal designer. He's worked with a lot of companies in the past, Spirit Systems, Go Ruck, designing a lot of their bags. So we've been working very closely with him. He's brought a lot of great insight to the table, stuff that, I wasn't thinking about, stuff that Aron wasn't thinking about in the manufacturing process to make it a little bit more efficient. So big props to him. And again, this is a team effort. It's not like Kurt and Aron are designing packers. This isn't just the Aron Snyder pack. Like, guys, you can't develop the best thing on the market by creating it in a silo. So collaboration is absolutely essential. It's the reason, you have the all-star team. Like, you get the best people in the industry, bring them together and innovate. So what we're not trying to do is say, hey, we're going after Mystery Ranch or Eagle or EXO or anybody, Initial Ascent. They all create very good products. what we're trying to do is just level up the game. We want to bring something new and innovative to the table and just shake up the market, something that hasn't been done before that makes a lot of sense, so that they can come and say, okay, well, fucking great idea, guys. Now we're going to push ourselves a little bit further, innovate something else.
And
so
then
we're like that.
We'll push ourselves.
We'll come. Exactly. So like having that competition is what we're striving for. We don't want to put anybody out of business. I think I've used Mystery Ranch overseas for many years. They've never failed me. Eberly stock in, sniper situations. So it's like they have very good systems that worked for the times, but we're going to try and push the envelope moving forward and basically force them to keep up, so that can in turn force us to compete with them. So it's just it's a constant battle of competition, so that we just keep leveling up the industry and bringing more innovation to something that, maybe is a little bit more stagnant than it should be.
Yeah. I mean, the end user is the one that benefits from this, right? I mean, back in the day, it was Kafaru and Mystery Ranch. I mean, there was Badlands or whatever. I mean, Eberly stock was not back in the day what it is today. Eberly stock has done an amazing job, growing and I mean, I am casting no shade towards towards Eberly stock about this, but Eberly stock's claim to fame was not heavy load hauling comfort. It was carrying that gun. That was, I would contest that Eberly stock, if they didn't have that, would have potentially went out of business. That's where they made their money. There were if you've ever read the patent, the umbrella was the size of a Bible that covered the weapons carrying system, right? Like you couldn't put a damn gun on your pack without infringing on Glenn, who was very intelligent, and so, I mean, with what we're doing, we have multiple patents that will go along with what we're coming out with. But as Kurt said, like, I don't have any ill will. I mean, the end user, you're the one that benefits from this, right? We're going to come out with this stuff and they're going to go to the design table and they're going to be like, holy shit. Yeah. How can we make something better than what they made? And that's what you want, right? I mean, what do they, iron sharpens iron? You get good competitors, you make better products. And
Aaron bringing scripture up in here. All right.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
I definitely have a different outlook going into what we're doing now and the people I'm surrounded with compared to before, because, I don't have any fear of anyone or any company going into this now, because I know we can beat you. And when I say that, I know, and I say we, using Kurt and I as an example, there is nothing we can't out-design, especially with Andrew's help. We can't out-design. We can't out-innovate. We can't come up with better material. There's nothing we can't do better than what you do. And that's an offer, right? That is 100% like, let's see what we've
challenge,
got.
Right?
That's a challenge. And I don't mean that. And I mean, again, I got an EXO recently from Ryan Avery, and that's the pack I recommend the most right now. And Steve and I have not gotten along great, but we beat you. And I would say we beat you. You will know in July, I think we beat you. And if we don't beat you, the sales won't show. But I think the end user will benefit so greatly from all of this, which is the best thing. It's the best thing about innovation. So,
yeah.
I mean, think if there was only Ford, right? If it was just Ford, it'd be a boring world, right?
Hell yeah.
Well, I say that. The Raptor's pretty badass. It wouldn't be that boring, but so
they only got there because of the competition. So
watch Ford versus Ferrari. It's a great movie. So we've got the packs coming out, frame, multiple bags, day packs, and that'll keep expanding as we go. We're also expanding. There's some of the stuff we can talk about. We're expanding more in 2027 in the whitetail community. We're going to have more of a whitetail line. And then we're expanding also on the academy. That's something I wanted to bring up. Wally is helping out quite a bit with that, but we're going to be doing a land nav course in, first week of May at Montana Knife Company's new facility.
Their new facility, yeah.
So, the academy, like, it's not like this huge money making thing we have going on, but the academy is a way for us to show the general public that we care to help spread knowledge, to help you learn and become a better outdoorsman or woman. And that's growing as well. And when I say we're expanding on that, when we teach a course on land nav or long range shooting or whatever, we just want the end user, whether you own our clothing or not, or our packs or not, to be better in the field, to be a better human. And that's something we're expanding on as well.
Yeah, we touched upon this in some other podcasts, but if, those of you who haven't listened to it, or you're new to this, is knowledge by itself is essentially useless. Like, it could benefit you, but unless you transfer that knowledge to your kin, transfer that knowledge to your buddies, or just to others in the community to benefit, you're doing yourself a disservice. So Aron has a wealth of knowledge with his background. I do as well. Wally, some of the other cadre that we're going to bring in for the academies, all are going to have a very strong, reputable background, and we'll discuss more of that in those courses to give you the most broad spectrum of feedback on why this information could be applicable to you. And an example is, man, this is funny, but reflecting upon my time as a kid, I was terrible at math growing up. And my math teacher was like, hey, you're going to use this when you grow up. And I was like, yeah, fucking right. When am I going to ever use this math, geometry and algebra? Like when I'm older, like not going to happen. I joined the military, started getting into long range shooting, and very quickly found myself having to do algebraic calculations to mill targets out at distance. So instead of using a rangefinder, being forced to use the mill radian, scope essentially to mill a target to find out its distance. We're also using math calculations in order to determine angle of distance shots. Net explosive weight. So I found myself very quickly using this throughout my life, and it was something that I found hugely beneficial. So that's an example of something that we're going to bring to the table. Some of those realistic applications of why some of this stuff is important that maybe you would have just blown over. It's like, hey, why do I need to know what a map and compass does? Because I have my phone and I have Onyx or Spartan Forge or something on there. Like, I'm good, right?
Yeah, I mean, even shooting, like, when I say shooting, like, I've always, I've been killing shit with a BB gun to a 22 to a gun. I'm a bow hunter, but like even what Wally and knowledge wise, or my buddy John Pinch or whatever, like there were things that I have learned from you guys in the last couple months, because I'm getting more into guns and gun hunting, that I never in a million years would think about, that are very like little things that I just never thought about, that the normal hunter could greatly, like would benefit greatly from. And some of these courses, like whether it's a low level or high level course, and men are the worst, that are like, I've been hunting forever, I'm good. Probably not, right? And I'm saying that for me too. Like I've learned so much from you guys in the last few months on the rifle side of things, that, I didn't know what I didn't know. And even though I could still shoot animals with a gun, the knowledge base of even mounting a scope, the way that you guys mount a scope, and how quick that can be, and compared to the way I was taught, is hugely beneficial. And, I learned a ton from that last class Wally taught. I taught a full day of archery and he taught rifle. And, half the time with rifle, I'm like, yeah, holy shit, I didn't know that. And some of the equipment he uses and the tools and things like that, it was great. It was amazing. So I'm really hoping, people attend these courses like they have been and keep growing, because it is very beneficial for sure.
Yeah. You brought it up today. One of an initial look was Aron he gets pretty dialed in when he's trying to learn something. He goes all in to try and learn it to the best of his ability. And he was chronoing every single round that was coming out of the rifle that he was shooting. And he found that between one lot number, I don't know what you were shooting, 300 PRC or something.
3 different lot numbers out of 6.5 PRC.
There you go.
Same ammo,
but
same company.
Same ammo, same company, just different lot numbers. And what the lot number is like when that group of ammunition was manufactured, essentially. So they do it in lots, and this package has the lot number on it. And you might buy 3 different packages from, the gun store. They might have 3 different lot numbers on it. You not even thinking about it. Even out at 800 yards, a 100 foot per second extreme spread between those different lot numbers can be the difference between a hit and a miss out at distance. So
At
without even knowing
not
that,
a deer, at an elk.
Right, at a big fucking target. And you think it was a bad shot, or maybe you jerked the trigger, or the wind, or some sort of environmental factor. But in reality, it was just the fact that these were rounds loaded volumetrically with different amounts of powder that you wouldn't even factored in. And, that 100 foot per second difference between rounds was the difference between you coming home with a successful harvest or not. And you would never know that had you not dove into it.
No, and I had 3 lot numbers, and what was crazy, I'm sure people are going to, I'm afraid to even say this. My groups at 100 with 1 lot number were the equivalent of my groups at 400 with a different lot number. That was the difference, in grouping. And when I say that, not just lot numbers, it was also, running different bullets. So like I was running 156 Burgers, 143 ELD Hunters, 147, ELD match. I was running a bunch of different ammo, and you would think one gun would group at 100 yards sub MOA with all of that different ammo. No, that is not the case. I was surprised because I was shooting so bad. I'm like, Wally, let that gun cool down. Put 3 rounds down range, because maybe I got target panic and I don't know it.
Yeah. He
shot 3 rounds and he was like, yeah, dude, get rid of that ammo. Like, not good. And it was amazing to me because it's not, I'm the way my brain works, I have to be constantly challenged to learn something new. So like, I'm going to sound like an idiot here, but John Pinch and Allwine both were like, if you parallel bow hunting and to rifle and follow the same methodology that I have at a high level in archery to rifle, I'll be better off. And John was like, do you ever shoot 20 yards? I'm like, no. He's like, do you take a cold bore 20-yard shot? And I'm like, no, never. And he's like, then why the fuck would you take a cold bore 100-yard shot? That's a gimme. And he was like, you take a cold bore 300-yard shot, 400-yard shot. You don't take cold bore 100-yard shots when your gun's dialed in.
Aaron, real quickly, explain what cold bore means for the people who might not know what the fuck that
meaning, is. Meaning, overnight, 2 nights, 1 week, guns in the case, pull it out, 1 shot out of the gun, right? And so the other thing that I really didn't think about that I'm going to get made fun of is barrels walk. And carbon barrels specifically, it seems like walk more than stainless or than non-carbon barrels, that you don't shoot more than 3 rounds before you let that barrel cool off, because you're not going to shoot 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rounds at an animal. You're going to shoot 1, 2, or 3, hopefully 1. So when you go shoot the gun, you zero it for cold bore. You do not zero it on your 9th, 10th, and 11th round. Yeah. You potentially should zero it cold bore. So shoot 3 solid rounds, and that's where you zero it and let it cool down and go from there. And again, I'm sure there's going to be a ton of different people with their own methodologies. I get that, but it made a lot more sense to me to shoot 3 rounds at 100, zero, cool, shoot 3 more rounds to confirm, cool, and then shoot, and then, I used the Garmin chrono. I got it married up to my rangefinder, and then boom, shoot out 1 round at 3, a good shot, round at 4, round at 5, round at 6, letting the barrel cool down rather than just keep unloading rounds down range.
Yeah. Yeah. Not only that,
did I make
is
any
the
sense
barrel
of that?
For sure. the chamber as well gets significantly hotter. And if you're shooting powder that is temperature sensitive, it's going to react to that chamber, especially if you're leaving that round in the chamber for an extended period of time. An extended period could be 15 seconds. Like that could be enough to increase the pressure within that chamber so that your next round is going to be significantly higher muzzle velocity than the one prior. So just understanding logically, like you don't have to understand the science behind all of it, but if you're like, oh yeah, shit that's hot tends to increase pressure. If I leave this round in a hot chamber, it's going to increase pressure within that casing, and potentially it's going to increase my muzzle velocity, which could adjust my impact down at range.
While we're talking
going
about
through
this,
these courses, we're gonna cover all of this. So you're like, maybe you've never heard of this before, and you're like, holy shit, okay. Something as simple as like see and trace downrange. Like if somebody would told me, 15 years ago that I would be able to watch a bullet travel downrange, like, yeah, you're fucking crazy. Like, there's no way you can watch a bullet fly through the air. It's like, absolutely, you're gonna see this ripple effect behind the bullet as it flies through the air down a distance, and you can be able to call an impact prior to even seeing it.
Yeah. Well, and then the trace, obviously the point of impact and aiming off, right? Like, Wally and you were both great at, okay, I fired a shot at 800 rounds in a wind I wasn't sure of, and I was off on my wind call. And Wally is able to say, okay, with that impact, you need to aim this far over, specifically whatever 3 MOA over with my hash marks or whatever reticle you have. But not only that, what that would potentially be instead of 700, what that's going to be at 600 or 300 or whatever, where you're aiming off. And, shit that I didn't think about of like, okay, Aaron, we filmed this shot and we watched the bullet go wherever. And then, all right, Aaron, hold up your reticle and see where that impacted. How many hash marks over is it? I'm like 3.5. He's like, all right, dumb fuck. Hold over 3.5. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I haven't shot enough to really think about that, or, you know what I mean? And so that sounds stupid, but I'm a bow hunter, right? And so, the last I shot yesterday out to 1200, and by the time it was said and done, once I got everything doped out or whatever, I was laying down, like cantaloupe sized groups at 800 as I'm learning this. But what was funny is I didn't change the speed. I wasn't, luckily I had the chronograph. I hadn't changed the speed in my app in accordance to the new rounds, right? And so while I was grouping great, I was not grouping according because I was 104 feet per second different than the previous lot, right? And so dialing all that in, it's amazing. Like once you get that accurate and people are like, what are you talking about? So if I shoot 2980, right, is my average speed on lot number, whatever, 7631. And that lot number is not grouping great, but my next lot number is grouping amazing, but that speed is 2785. If you don't put all that data, into your app, you're not going to hit the target, right? And so it was crazy to me because as I'm learning all this stuff, and I'm probably not making that much sense, by the time it was said and done, as I'm learning, I'm able to hit an 800-yard target inside of a paper plate with no wind once I've figured all this out. But that took a lot of figuring. That was 3 different lots of ammo with Hornady 147 ELD match. For example, it took 3 boxes of ammo to be able to do that. And I had to change my app every time because it was different data.
Yeah. And absolutely.
Did that make any sense of that, Kurt?
When you find, it made enough sense for me. I think there's probably quite a few listeners who don't even know what the fuck you're talking about with an app, ballistic calculator and all that. So and again, this is stuff we'll go over in these courses as time comes. But basically the bottom line is if you're going to be shooting a specific rifle in a specific round, make sure that when you buy ammo, you buy one certain lot and only shoot that lot. You'll have more consistency across a broad spectrum. If you shoot match ammo, you're going to be a little bit tighter in your extreme spread with muzzle velocity or foot per second between one round and the next. So always maybe lean to shoot match at grade ammo if you can afford it. If not, just get whatever you can afford as long as it's within the same lot number.
Well, some of the other stuff that we'll teach that I didn't, again, I'm new to this. I'm a bow hunter, but like we have a digital caliper for your scope height. I didn't think that was that big of a deal. When I first entered my scope height, I kind of eyeballed it with a tape measure. Wally has a digital caliper. And I'm like, how much does that matter? He's like, look, fuckhead, at 1,200 yards, it matters, right? Like everything matters. And John Pinch was like going into great depth, and John Pinch and Matt Allwinder are some of the greatest shooters I know. But Pinch was like, you're talking about when you build a gun and bullet and, you know, your load data and everything else. He's like, fraction upon fraction upon fraction, all of those little differences make for misses, like at long range. And whether that be your level or that your scope height is off 1/8 of an inch, or he's adding all this up. He's like, look, dude, anybody can hit anything at 400 yards or should be able to. He's like, when you get past 800 to a mile, that's like big boy rules, and fractions of a fraction of a fraction matters. And if you're not paying attention to that, which I certainly was not, and I'm learning, it's huge. And I mean, how long was the course you went through for sniper school?
Sniper school was 3 months.
Yeah. And going into it and coming out of it, how much of a different perspective did you have? Like, how much did you learn?
Yeah, man, night and day. I mean, you're also learning full spectrum, from stalking to photo intelligence capture, taking pictures and sending them back. But yeah, I mean, a night and day difference between going in and coming out. And then honestly, you would think that coming out of something like that, like you're ready and you're good to go, but that's only scraping the surface. We were going through at a point where ballistic calculators were very much in being used, and we didn't do that at all. What we did was physical manual data collection, shooting yard lines, recording time, temperature, barometric pressure, density, altitude, all of these environmental factors, and then trying to do the best we could to analyze that in a manual dope book, essentially, which, again, it gives you an appreciation for the ballistic calculator and everything that it brings to the table, and basically how to use it more efficiently. In addition to, I mean, we didn't even use rangefinders. Rangefinders were pretty paramount, widely being used at the time, but it's ingraining some of those more primitive fieldcraft skills, so that should you find yourself without that tool, you will still be able to perform exceptionally well.
Wally was going over that when we were shooting out in Du Bois, and I'm like, yeah, man, I'm going to go ahead and use technology. Fuck that. Like, he was going over, like, absolutely. He's got a trimmer reticle, and he was talking about the different ways, like, you know, what you guys were taught or learned or whatever. You know, the difference between, and I've shot a lot of animals with a rifle, especially guiding and whatever else, where I was even a month ago to where I am today is crazy night and day difference. And when I say that, the course that, I mean, I was an instructor at the archery side, and I'm teaching the same things that Wally is with archery. Yep. And I go to the rifle side of things, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have so much to learn. Like, literally, like how Wally does setting up a scope and bore sighting or whatever, like getting you dialed in really 5 shots, right? Like, you know, fairly quickly. And then some of the stuff that he was showing with fix-it sticks, like with a different kit you have, if you have something go down in the field and how to repair, check that or whatever else is, you know, I've never messed with any of that shit. I mean, I don't know, and I'm learning it, so it's pretty amazing. And anyway, I'm obviously excited really about the gun side of things.
It's up to the individual. It's like, how much do you want to learn? Because, to your point, most people will be like, I don't really need to know what it is like to shoot yard lines or how these environmentals affect my bullet, or really any projectile traveling through the atmosphere. How to mill a target and what that means. Yeah, absolutely. You may never use that, but it gives you a more solid foundation to understand and appreciate the tools that you have that are more modern, the same way that, you know, a person could absolutely validate, hey, I will never need to use a map and compass. Sure. That may be possible in your entire life, but at the same time, there is an applicable reason to learn how to read a compass, how to read a map, how to use them concurrently to build routes, to find your way without the use of a GPS. So you may say that'll never happen, possibly, but you could also say a hurricane could never hit the area where you live, and you'll never need a bug out bag or any sort of preparedness, because you have modern conveniences. So it's like, why do anything at that point? So it's really up to the level of how much are you willing to learn and invest into doing something a little bit different.
I think, though, with what you're saying, as I'm not leaving out women, but as a man, you should, being the protector and I say protector, but you should want to learn more, right? And, again, if you don't, I would say you're probably lazy. And so, I've done this for a long time, and I am extremely excited learning from you and Kurt and John about like this aspect of it. And, on the preparedness side of things, I think that, I think you would be a fool going through life thinking that would never benefit you in some way on the preparedness side, whether that be land nav or first aid. I mean, that's something that I'm learning more and more on the first aid side. But, Kurt, you're one of the more prepared, people that I know, but like I'm going through my garage right now and I'm mimicking some of the things that you do, as far as I've always had somewhat of a bug out bag in my deck system. Kurt and I just set up deck systems in our truck, and my deck system now, which I will say everybody should own a deck system. We have a pickup. They are amazing systems. I have a recovery, I have a medical kit back there, I have a cold weather kit, I have all these little boxes. But, to go through life and think that you're never going to have something negative happen and everything's going to be fine, you would be a fool. Learning all of this is a huge benefit.
Taking that mentality in an isolated situation may seem fine. Like, I'll never need to use a mapping compass, or I'll never be without modern conveniences or the logistical supply chain of being able to access a grocery store, whatever it is. It's just, the problem becomes that mentality starts to slowly permeate into every aspect of your life, to where you start to become that guy who just constantly says that'll never happen. So you just stop seeking knowledge. And what we're saying is, humble yourself and seek that knowledge, not because it's going to be directly applicable in your everyday life in like right away, but just seek that knowledge for the sake of knowledge. Constantly be searching to be better, constantly be searching for somebody who has more information than what you currently have, so that can factor into your analysis of how you're going to approach situations in the future. And it's not always going to be directly related to land navigation or archery or long range shooting, but it's going to give you a perspective that's going to shift your focus, that could be applicable to how you approach your job with managing who you manage at the construction site, or building scaffolding, or whatever the discipline is. It's just going to give you a foundation that's going to open up your aperture and allow you to bring in information and knowledge from a bunch of different sources, so that you can be the better person that you are to your family, to the people that you manage, who rely on your leadership skills, so that you can serve them better.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. And I think that, obviously I'm surrounded by a lot of people that are better than me at a lot of different things. And so, as we're going into this, I'm definitely the guy when I'm good at something, I say, hey, I'm good at this. And I'm definitely the guy when I'm bad at something, I'm like, hey, I need to learn.
Yeah.
I think with what you said, if you're going into any of this, and we see this a lot in the classes, and men are the worst, specifically husbands, that there's absolutely nothing wrong, whether you have a penis or not, but specifically if you have a penis, of saying, I don't know, and I need to learn. And when you learn, you're going to be better at taking care of your family or your kids or whatever. There's nothing, wrong with that. And I'm getting like right now, not humbled, but humbled on my lack of knowledge with rifles. And I can shoot as good as anyone, but that doesn't mean I know what I'm doing. Right. And so it's amazing to me when I say this, the lack of knowledge that I thought I had with guns, right? I'm learning so much with that. And if I went into it with some arrogance and bravado, I would not be as far ahead as I am right now saying, Wally, I'm an idiot, or Kurt, I'm an idiot. Teach me.
Right.
Cause I'm like a sponge, and these courses that we do are literally to like help you level up. I would say being a man, I guess. I mean, if we could teach you how to change a tire and change oil, we'd probably do that too. There's a lot of things lacking in the world today that just aren't as important as they used to be. And we're trying to do that with these courses. Having said that, Kurt, what's the longest shot you've taken?
About 2,700 yards. And that was with 300 PRC.
And how was that Accuracy International? Who made that gun?
That was with a Barrett MRAD 300 PRC.
And was that
with Hornady?
Was that training?
That was in training. Yeah.
So
the longest shot that I've taken on, are you asking about a live tissue?
I mean, if you want to answer that, go ahead. I try not to ever dive into that world.
Yeah, I'll pass.
Yeah. Okay. So with the 20, what'd you say? How far was it?
2,700 yards. Yeah. Which is, you think it's far, but there's people pushing out to 4,000. So it's really not.
Well, I mean, it's crazy now that I'm when I say in this world, like I've got a lot of friends that are in that world. You see some of the movies that are not overly accurate, and then you learn that some of the things that you see in the movies are, or I have friends that have, so when you look at that, the bullet drop, right? Like the drop, right? Is, I think currently is, I mean, what's that? Probably 400 and some inches or some crazy thing. I don't know what it is. It's insane.
Yes. So I had to use what's called a prism. So Night Force makes them. There's a lot of special companies out there that makes this prism, because the scope, you run out of elevation travel.
It doesn't have enough legs. Yeah.
It doesn't have enough legs, even with, an angled Picatinny rail or whatever. So you have to put this prism on the front of the scope, which gives you another 100 mils of elevation travel to be able to shoot out at some of those distances.
So what was the flight time? Like 5-6 seconds?
Dude, I can't even remember. I'd have to pull up my applied ballistics calculator to get that. But yeah, it was quite significant from the time you pull the trigger, get back on target. You obviously can't really see the impact at those distances. You have a light indicator to see if you hit the steel or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with that though, there is so many things that come into play, and things that I don't even grasp or fathom, like Wally was trying to explain of some of it, but like there's a lot of math involved, right? Obviously on you're probably not shooting factory ammo to make that shot, right? You're reloading. So there's that aspect of it. The equipment side, like you talked about, I would say Night Force is probably leading the game in
Yes.
that world. Schmidt and Bender, is that another one? Or I mean, I've heard people call them Schmidt and Cinder, but I mean, are Schmidt and Bender good scopes?
I've only, for those extreme long range applications, I've only ever used Night Force products. One, because of the clarity of the glass. Two, the light transfer, from the scope with, how much comes in through the objective lens, so that you achieve clarity in the ocular lens. Three, because of how they track, and basically what that means is you're 100% sure that every mil radian or every click that you give into the elevation or windage is a true click, and it's not going to slip on you. So they track very well over time, even through many rounds of fire. Whereas I found a lot of other competitor scopes will tend to lose that track, and they're not as durable. So Night Force has been leading the game for a very long time, and that prism that I shot was also a Night Force prism. So I would only put my money into the Night Force basket right now, unless somebody else, brings something better to the table, which I hope they do in the future.
Yeah. I was talking to John Pinch about this, and I'm not speaking for John Pinch, but like there are, a lot of different websites. One that I started, which I wish if I could go back in time, I would never have started that website, because now it's just a bunch of fake wannabes. But there's like a lot of different testing that goes on some of these websites. This is on the hunting side, not the tactical side. And, I have a Night Force and I have Mavens right now. And, Maven, is newer to the game compared to Night Force. Both make great optics, but I would say the one thing that Night Force has above anything above and beyond is the test of time. You know what I mean? When I say with durability, optical clarity, I would say Night Force is winning the game on that. Sounds like you agree?
I would 100% agree. Yeah.
And they're also heavy as fuck. And their turret sucks. This is Aron Snyder. This is not Born Primitive speaking. So they came out with an NX8 or an NX6 instead of an 8. So the NX8 did not have the greatest of turrets as far as like the zero stop and everything else. So they came out with the 6, and you probably haven't fucked with the 6 yet, have you?
No. Is this the 1-to-6 power?
No, the NX6 it's a full spectrum NX8. It's just a 6. So they've changed some things on it. The turret's easier to, so on the turret of an NX8, it is not the easiest to adjust for your, for when you zero out. It was a little bit of a pain in the butt, for your zero stop. Are you remembering that, or?
Yeah, no. So I'm remembering that they have different tiers of affordability with their scopes. And I want to say that the NX8 was like one of the lower tiers. Then they have the ATACR, these like higher tier, higher price point scopes. So maybe that's where they kind of cut the corner on some of the functionality on some of those turret systems.
And they could have, and this is where like I'm learning, but I think the NX8 is probably the more prolific hunting scope, compared to,
which
tactical.
would make sense if it's more affordable. Like nobody's going to spend fucking $3,500 on a scope for an $800
they're still pretty
rifle.
expensive. Yeah, I mean they're still pretty expensive. I don't know what an NX8 is, but Night Force came out with the 6, like improving. Like they didn't just rest on their laurels, right? I mean, Night Force is constantly, innovating and evolving. But I don't know. It's crazy because when you get online, right, and this is way off the subject of what we're talking about, John Pinch and Matt Allwine win more NRL and PRS competitions, right? Not tactical, whatever. And they shoot loopholed. And when you go to like Rock Slide just shits on loophole all the time. And it's for me, it's like a social experiment of just watching how, people, cause I wouldn't want to get shot at by either of those two guys, and they shoot loophole and they shoot a specific scope or whatever else. But then you look at like Night Force, they've been around forever and they do extremely well. But there's some people like that when you get on forums or whatever else, like, what am I trying to say here? As I've Googled my life away learning about long range shooting over the last 6 weeks, it is extremely confusing, trying to get online and learn things, because if you got on Rock Slide, you should never buy a loophole Mark V. It's the worst scope ever. Like it doesn't handle a drop test. But then you look at somebody like John Pinch and Matt that win everything with loophole. And then you have years and years and years of experience in your side of the fence, and you've run nothing but Night Force. Yeah. For the most part,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So like hunting right now, with your background, which is more tactical than hunting, what are you setting up? Because I remember you were going to set up a custom 308 for bear, and I about shit my pants. And I'm like, no, Kurt, you're not setting up a 308. You got to do some kind of a sexier round. Yeah. What are you going for if you set up a hunting gun right now?
As far as caliber and scope and everything?
Everything. Like what? Yeah, like everything.
And this is part of the fault that I have of versatility, multifunctionality, future proofing.
Dude, it's a good question for that reason.
No, this is the preparedness mindset that I bring to the table, where it's like, yeah, I would, of course, there's better rounds than a 308 or 7.62 if you're more familiar with that, that are more efficient at distance. They have better ballistic coefficient. They have better terminal ballistics even. But
Are you saying you go with a 308?
I would probably go with a 308 personally, due to how readily available 308 ammo is in the world. Really, it's just
so
like
if we took that out of the equation,
yeah,
like what would you go
why
with?
would we take that? Why the fuck would you take that out of the equation? Well, okay, so let's say we take that out of the equation. I had shot
Because if
300 Win Mag for
let me add context to that. You're going on a sheep hunt with me, right? You drew it. Took you 25 years, and you're like, what gun should I? Well, I mean, this is why. But this is why I brought it up. Because it's very important. Yeah. When the world's ending, you're grabbing a 308 because they're readily available ammo.
Yeah, right.
Okay, but when we take that out of the equation, which is hugely important, because there's not one sheep hunter that I would know of that would say, I can't wait to set up my 308 for my lifelong dream sheep hunt.
Absolutely not. Because the distances are so unknown, the environmentals, the angles could be extreme to the point where you want to give yourself the highest probability of impact at unknown distances. So for me, I would set up, honestly, because of my experience with it, is the 300 PRC. I have the utmost confidence in the terminal ballistics. I have the utmost confidence in the ability of that round to penetrate any sort of environmentals and crush a target that it hits. Even if I misplace that shot, or the wind kind of kicks it a little bit further. It sounds like you're loading a mag right now.
Oh, no, I have that buckle we're looking at using for the fidlock.
Well, it's very loud, Aaron, so fuck it, stop.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll stop. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's like a fidget toy for you.
Yeah, I'm usually doodling, so.
Yeah, so honestly, I would do 300 PRC, and really that's because of my background and my experience and knowledge with it. I have taken it overseas. I was involved pretty heavily in the development process during that whole cycle to bring that round to fruition. So, I would choose 300 PRC. I've seen what it's able to do to live tissue, and I see what it can do at a distance. So I feel like that would give me the flattest trajectory and the highest shot probability across the board.
Now, what I've been told recently is your background type of people are switching to 7 PRC now. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't. I've been out of the game for a few years too.
So it's crazy because if you said you were shooting a 308 in today's hunting world, you're old school, you're not cool.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to come up with. So for me getting into this, and when I get psychotic and I Google and I learn or whatever, a 308 is literally like crazily, like oddly never mentioned. Right. And so 6.5 PRC, 300 PRC, 7 PRC. Those are, very well-known rounds. The 6.5 or the 6.5 Creedmoor is a big one. But if you get online nowadays and you were trying to figure out what the best round is, you would be so confused and fucked up that you would probably walk away with a headache, where you are confident in 308, 300 PRC. Right?
308, 300 PRC, 300 Win Mag, 300 Short Mag. So yeah, I would say all of those.
And then what gun are you going with? What's your favorite gun maker from what you use?
Fuck, man. This is where I will probably piss some people off, because it's like my mentality is gun shoot, gun good. So yeah, there's going to be some manufacturers that make better barrels and like their higher tolerances, but at the same time, fuck, dude. Yeah. I can't even begin to go. Like, I have a Viking armor gun. They do very, very well with their builds. I just hate that XLR chassis. So I probably wouldn't go with a Viking gun. Now, a buddy of mine runs a company called Straight Jacket Armory. They build some very badass guns. Seekins makes some badass guns. So really, you can't go wrong as long as it's like a precision, precision, maybe hand lapped barrel. I ended up just building my own rifle. It was a 300 Win Mag. I just got all the components and put it together myself. It's really not that difficult to do. Obviously it takes some time investment and some financial investment to get that done. I would prefer to probably go that route, just build your own rifle. But if you want a commercial off the shelf, dude, do some research and then just throw a fucking dart at a dartboard and find something. Most people aren't going to be shooting out past 800 yards anyway, which is another reason why I'm like 308. It's good enough for what most people are going to be dealing with, especially if you're going to be, whatever. Yeah.
And then what scope and what power? Like Night Force, obviously, what power?
And again, it depends on what I'm doing, but my favorite Night Force of all time has been the 2.5 to 10. And honestly, I can take that off. I can throw it on my 5.56, 16-inch upper. I can take that off and throw it on a 7.62. Like, it's not ideal, but if I could only afford one scope right now, like, I don't even know if Night Force makes that anymore, but that was the most versatile. I absolutely love that. It had a pretty simplistic mill reticle inside, nothing crazy, with a tremor reticle with its Christmas tree confusion, which I'm very confident and versed in being able to use. But I like the simplicity of that. Honestly, you could do a lot with Vortex Strike Eagle, the 1-8, very badass scope. I think, for a long time, they had the best scope on the market for that variable power scope. Large ocular lens that allowed you to acquire the target pretty quickly. And you didn't get any shift. So a lot of those scopes that I used, like Leopold, for example, was kind of notorious for this. If you didn't have a proper cheek weld and an eye relief,
pretty bad parallax shift.
You would have a very, very bad parallax shift. So I found that the Vortex kept up with that. And again, it's like, what is your application? Is this personal defense? Is this, shooting at targets? Are you just trying to, have something for your at-home militia? Like, I don't know what your application is, but yeah, for me, 2.5 to 10 maybe would be that one thing.
Gotcha. So we've been on for a while, but last question, and I get this one a lot. World's ending, right? And whatever, zombies come, there's an EMP, whatever books you're reading, currently.
The borrowed world.
Yeah. So, I mean, dude, I'm an audiobook guy, right? So there was borrowed world, Coming Home, 1 Second After. There's a ton of them out there. Yeah. And I think people look at me probably more of a survivalist than they probably should. I'm not nearly at the depth of a lot of people, but I would pick a 22 if I had to pick one round. I would pick a Ruger 1022 as my gun. Now, that's not to say, I can kill elk, but that would be the round because I can carry a ton of ammo, at one time, and I can shoot small game and not blast the shit out of it. For personal defense, but not great. But what would you pick? What would you got to pick, and one gun.
I could only have one gun to do everything. I have to hunt with it. I have to provide personal security, security for my family and my homestead or community. Is that what we're saying? Yeah. Holy fuck.
Yeah, that's a difficult one because I'm looking more on hunting than
the easy thing for me to say would be a 5.56. So 223, I would have to do probably anywhere between a 10.5 to 16-inch AR platform. I may even say 300 blackout in that application, but I think probably the availability of a 5.56 or 223 ammo would be, and I say that interchangeably, and I absolutely know that you can't interchange. If you have a 223 barrel, a chambered barrel, it's not going to fit a 5.56. Like, I get that, but I'll just say 5.56 from now on, because I know some people will try to nitpick. But 5.56 AR style, you got a bunch of ammo readily available. You can hunt with it. You can easily field clean the platform. If you need to have replacement parts, those are easily accessible for the bulk carrier group, et cetera, et cetera. So I would do an AR style. And that's, I mean, fucking, you've got decades and decades of urban warfare data that would back that up. You can absolutely kill anything up to an elk with a 223. Like, not ideal, not ethically, but if you're in a scenario
I
where
may have
you're restricted,
at one point in time in my life,
where you're where you're restricted, fuck, you get done what you have to get done. So that's what I do for that one platform. Easily, you can conceal, throw in a backpack as a personal defense weapon, keep it in a truck. So it's like, the wieldability, the versatility is kind of unrivaled right now.
Gotcha. So we've covered a lot of stuff, and I've definitely talked too much because I've been drinking. But with, like, you know, the I know, right? Here's Eastman's calling me again. Scott, I'll call you back. With everything that we're doing, right? With products we're coming out with, you know, whether that be backpacks or the shoes or clothing or whatever else in the academy. The one thing that I will say is this is the first time that in a very long time that I have had a crew around me that is, as knowledgeable or more knowledgeable in what we're doing to help with the design. And, you know, you're a huge part of that. I mean, even more so on the clothing side. I mean, you handle a ton of that stuff, and that doesn't happen very often. Like Sitka, there's one John Barklow, and I can promise you, if you walk through Sitka, there's one John Barklow, and there's probably a bunch of other people with shit in their face, that probably voted for Biden, right? I mean, argue with me if you want. There's one John Barklow at Sitka, and I fucking promise you, he is the only one. We are full of John Barklows. You know, and so that's one thing that's nice with everything that we do. We have such a vast array of very skilled people, whether that be on the teaching side or the design side or whatever. And I'm very excited about that. If people can't tell, like, this is the first time I've been excited in a long time. Plus Andrew, you know, who's a huge, you know, benefit, with what we're doing. And, you know, I'm not saying that on a bragging side. I'm saying that's the truth. So, like, if you want to go check other companies and their pedigree that on the design and testing side, by all means, you know, go ahead. But we have an amazing crew here, and I'm very excited about that because we can do pretty much anything we want, hunting and tactical, outdoors, backpacking, whatever. And very few companies can say that. So I'm very, very happy about that and appreciate, you know, the friendship with you and everything that we do. Cause Kurt carries my ass a lot. I get credit for shit that Kurt certainly has done. I've had a bunch of people come up to me like, man, that Bushcraft's amazing. You did a great job. And I'm like, well, Kurt did a great job. I didn't have as much to do with it as Kurt. You know, so I appreciate everything with that.
Yeah. Thanks, brother. Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I've been in the game a long time, and I know a lot of these companies, and we have a great crew, and it's awesome with everything we're coming out with. And as I say that, there's hiccups, right, with any business. Like, we're going at a rapid rate, and so keeping up with that has been interesting. But the future is looking bright, and I really cannot wait for the backpacks and the footwear to come out. It's been exciting, and we you know, on the footwear. Shit, dude, I don't even know where we're going to end up on the zero drop. I mean, we just got started with that thing. So, I mean, what are we looking at? Q2 of 2027, right?
Q2 2027, fucking fingers crossed. So, and that's should everything go smooth with the T&E and design. I think we have some leeway with time, but it's going to be a little tight. We're going to have to make sure we're dialed in there.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, cool, man. Well, I should probably feed the white devils and get the little guy under control here. He's running around the house. But yeah, Jerry was like, I need a podcast. So this was perfect because we had a bunch of questions on the shit we were talking about. So
love it.
Right on, man. Well, cool, dude. Man. I think we got a meeting tomorrow.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I'm excited. Just kidding. Yeah, I'm not excited. I'm just kidding. Right on, dude. Well, have a good night, and appreciate everybody tuning in. And we will have info up on the next Academy of courses for those asking. But the next one is at Montana Knife Company at their home office the first week of May. But we'll have info up on that soon. So thanks again, Kurt.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.